Hello, my name is Mali and welcome back to my channel. I have neither the time nor the energy to read anything that's not related to my studies at the moment, so I've decided to, instead of giving you a recommendations video or a vlog or something, today we're just going to have a look at Booktok. I don't use TikTok. I have a TikTok account, like a private one, but I basically don't look at it. But I have heard of Booktok. And I've seen some videos which later turned up on Instagram or YouTube. So I decided to create another account just for this and see what we find.
Disclaimer. First of all, sexual content. Obviously, we are on Booktok. Secondly, I don't know how strict YouTube is with small channels concerning copyright strikes, but I have decided to just put music in the back of most videos or talk myself. And also my English and my German accent at the moment is way worse than usual, so I'm sorry for that.
Oh my god, I love this. They rebind books, like a series, into one whole book. I've seen this before.
There is copyrighted music in the background, but I don't want to put some random music on somebody else's content, but I also don't really want to sing for you.
Not one I expected to be the first video I release on Booktok, but if it continues like this, we have no problem.
Grow up! Okay.
I don't know if that's what they meant. I have read Icebreaker because my sister kind of wanted me to read it. It's not my it's not my cup of tea. It's not something that I would recommend other people to read, mostly because I personally didn't like the way the relationship was depicted, and also oh, that's the spoiler, let's not do that. It's just not something that I liked. Honestly, if that's what you want to read, sure. But you can also continue reading your My Little Pony books if that's what you're into. Like, there's no shame in reading books that are marketed towards children if it gives you a break from reality, like whatever.
What the fuck is this?
Oh yeah, I've seen this one.
It's just printed like that? Is this normal? Is this in anyone else's book? This is powerless right now. Powerless, but like...
The thing is, I'm never certain if in these kind of instances the book becomes less or more valuable, like on the market. Yeah, like she could resell it. Is it more valuable because of the misprint, because it's one of a kind thing, or is it less valuable because it's a mistake? And it's been pretty big a mistake as well. Honestly, if I found a book like that, I'd keep it forever. I think it's pretty funny to just have a book where you have ripped pages that look like teeth. You could make an artwork out of that, like paint something on the page in a way that you can still see the words, and then maybe something related to the story. I think it's Powerless. I think that's the book that went around on probably Booktok as well, but also on Instagram. Not sure if there's anything with teeth in there, but if you're creative. Okay, I feel like we've been on the tame side of Booktok. Let's go to Booktok scenarios. I've heard of that one.
When they're in the middle of doing it and his brother walks into the room. You okay with Lucas watching, Beauty? They continue, while his brother watches and gives them orders.
Yeah, that's the part of Booktok that always scares me. No thank you. Listen, I don't want to like king shame anyone, but your brother, like, I have one. He doesn't need to be there. Well, at least at least the comments agree with me. I mean, I don't read any smart anyway, it's not my thing. But there must be other things that you could write than this, right? Like, your sibling?
When she's sick in the bathroom and he leans against the doorframe to say, "You're pregnant." No, it's not possible. I'm on birth control. It is.
Do
You
you?
were just sleeping with the
What?
wrong man.
What? That's not how birth control works. I hope that the fictional character doesn't actually believe that. I gotta be honest, I've met a man who would probably believe this. I mean, there are definitely also men out there who understand female biology and stuff like that, but there are definitely guys out there who would believe this. That they can still impregnate a woman on birth control, which they can, but it's not because of the type of man they are, but because no birth control is 100% safe. And I guess this isn't as toxic as other videos I've seen. It's just not smart. Like, this is nothing against the creator. If you like these kind of books, then read them, go for it. But also the fictional man from this few sentences doesn't seem to be of the smartest kind.
Her having a panic attack at the school library when she's alone, so her enemy calls her and she answers, "Where are you? I can be there in 30. Hold on, okay?"
But how did he know? He calls her. But how did he know that she's having a panic attack? Like, if he was there and saw her, then he wouldn't be there in 30, he would be immediately. Like, that doesn't make sense. Or there are cameras. There might be cameras. He might be stalking her. So he's probably stalking her. So we're romanticizing stalking now. Like, I get wanting a romance with a bit of, I don't know, spice in it and with things. And I guess as long as it stays in the book, then it's not a problem. But you are kind of normalizing this. Making videos like these, even if you yourself only make them as a fictional thing, other people will start normalizing them.
When your mom drags your bookshelves out of your room for the aesthetic, but a grandma is on her way over.
So the good thing is my grandparents don't speak English. Also, my books aren't downstairs. My sister probably be the bigger problem because she reads different books than I do, and she also reads more in German. But then again, the covers are very cutesy nowadays, so they wouldn't recognize anything anyway, and I don't think they would look inside of it. But my dream is actually, because I always wanted to have this big room full of books, but honestly, considering I will always have to live close to big cities for my job, I've nowadays come to realize that I'd rather have just big bookshelves in every room. Then I would like in my main living area where people are going to see the books to be really like classics and non-fictional, so I seem smarter than I am. And then in my bedroom there can be they're not less worthy of being read, but there can be the books that people would see as less intellectual, I guess. I don't say there are, but there are definitely people who, when they see a classic, are way more impressed than when they see a fantasy book. So that's my plan, having the most intellectual seeming books on display. Though it would also be funny to just have the most trashy romance books on display, and then just saying some quotes from classics from time to time, so people are always sitting there like, but she only reads romances. I just like to play with people's conception of intelligence, because, like, just because I read, I'm not smarter than other people are. Anyways, that's my dream, just having several rooms with books, instead of one room where there are only books. The academic rivals, and they just got their test scores back. 99, she says, poorly holding it up to him. He's got 100. That's bad. 98, he says, looking down at his paper that says that. Why would he lie about this? Lying about a grade is like, sure, you want to make her happy, but isn't she like, if it develops into something serious, then are you always going to lie about your grades? Isn't she going to find out at some point? Also, lying in a relationship, never the best idea. And, like, it's not that serious. Like, what do you expect to happen if you tell her that you got 100? Now, I'd be annoyed if you did that. Yeah, me too. I'd act so frustrated and mad if someone did that, yeah. Because it's not genuine. I agree with the comments there.
What did you just tell me, babe?
I said people are selling their copies of Fourth Wing with the sprayed edges for like ridiculous amounts of money.
Like how much?
Yes.
Oh, I
These
think
special editions can get really expensive. I don't own any. I don't see the need for them personally. Maybe once I have the money for stuff like this, I will.
More like $200.
What? How long ago didn't you just get that? You just got that,
Like
I
a
feel
month
like.
ago.
Are there any more?
No, they don't make the spray edges anymore.
Well, I know, but like, is there like a back stock of those anywhere that haven't been?
They're like sold out. Now it's only non-sprayed edges.
So what you're saying is
I'm an elitist. Yes.
you could sell that.
No!
And then buy more books.
But then I wouldn't have the sprayed edge.
But that's okay. You have it
P.S.
now.
If you haven't read this book yet, please do. Fourth Wing, Rebecca Yarros.
Is it a I Can Get Lucky book?
No.
No.
No. No, not really.
So I shouldn't recommend it to other husbands.
No.
I haven't read it, but maybe you should.
Like, I think of all like the Hunger Game girl.
But yeah, no, I won't read this book probably. But I like how the I'm gonna guess it's her husband or her 90s dad. I don't think it's her dad. I think it's her husband. I love how he immediately thought about the ways they could make money off of this book. Like immediately he went like, wait, are there any more? Can we sell this one? When she's sharing a bed with the guy who bullied her in high school, he hugs her during his sleep and... Matta's the nickname he called her when they were best friends. So wait, they were best friends? Then he bullied her in high school and now they're sleeping in the same bed? Is this one of these stories where they're like, yeah, I loved you so much I didn't know how to deal with it, so I decided to bully you? Hot tip, don't share a bed with your bully. Honestly, I wouldn't even be sure if I could ever befriend my bullies. Shout out to them. But like, that's not healthy. And if they already were friends before that, then also definitely not, because he already showed you once that you weren't important enough to him that he wouldn't bully you. Like, he bullied you when you used to be best friends. Then that's... Why are you going back to this guy? Even if it's just as friends. Don't do that. Have some self-respect. The girls in these books should have some self-respect. That's... honestly, that's what I'm taking away from this. Also, did you notice that it's always the girls that are treated this way? It's never the other way around. It's always the girls that are being diminished, humiliated, even as a kink or fetish. Doesn't it seem very obvious that this is unhealthy if it's always only the women that are being treated horribly and the men just get away with it? Like, if this was just a fetish or a kink, then wouldn't it also go the other way around? Shouldn't there also be people who like it more when the woman dominates the man? Why are there no stories about this? That's so weird. And I think that's why it seems toxic to me, because it's very obvious that it's always just one side that gets the worst of it and the other side doesn't. And we are excusing a lot by it. Anyways, don't share a bed with your bully, and if he whispers your nickname that he gave you when you were best friends, just don't tell him. Ignore it. Anyways, I kind of want to see if there are like Booktok discussions. I want to comment on some stuff because I've seen some recommendations that were fine, just not my cup of tea. We've seen some, I guess, meme-like videos, and we've seen some weird stuff. But there must also be some commentary side to this. People who just tell you what they think. I want the yappers.
So if you're on Booktok and your For You page looks anything like mine, then I'm sure you've seen a lot of discourse surrounding the whole idea that Booktok is spreading anti-intellectualism over the past few days and weeks, and I have some
Me
thoughts.
as well.
And while I
That is
understand
not-
where
now
some
we're
of these
talking.
creators are coming from, in general, I just feel like this type of conversation is actually what intimidates people and keeps people from feeling like they should pick up books and start reading. I think one of the most amazing things about Booktok is that it inspires the average person. It inspires people who would never even dream of picking a book up to pick a book up and start reading.
I agree. I won't do the whole video just because it's like way too long for that. This could be a video on its own. I agree that we have this thing where we as a book community sometimes think we are so much better than other people because we read and we're so smart, and then we look down upon people who read certain books, and like, it doesn't matter what you read, you're you're still a reader. Also, just because you read, you aren't smarter than other people, and that's the thing, this anti-intellectualism, I don't think that's a bad thing.
Just to make this clear, I do not mean the anti-intellectualism that is defined by being opposed to everything that is intellectual, but rather the definition that I think a lot of people on Booktok or Bookstagram use, which seems to be more in the direction of not everything has to be intellectual and not everything has to be about learning or self-improvement, but it can also just be about the enjoyment.
I think it's actually important, because then more people will read and maybe branch out at some point. And if they don't, then that's also fine. If they always just read their romance books, like, you don't have to do that. It doesn't affect you. It might affect the market, because nowadays there are a lot of romance and romantasy books coming out. But also there's so many books out there. I doubt anybody has read every single one book from a genre, so you will always be able to find new books anyway. I do worry sometimes that people read because they want to be perceived as smart. And that's just not the right reason to read. Like, there has been this video going around of a girl saying that there are too many words on a page. Like, I've also had books where I was thinking like, okay, you could break it up into paragraphs. But the book she was talking about was Six of Crows, by, forgot her name. But the book isn't one of the books where it's just one long paragraph. It's got a lot of breaks in the lines. I've read that book myself. And that's what worries me, that people make themselves read because they think they have to, because they like the aesthetic, because they like being perceived as smart, because they want to be part of some group. But they don't actually, I mean, I don't know if this girl likes reading, maybe she actually doesn't, she just didn't like the book. But some people don't actually seem to like reading on Booktok, from the few things that I've seen. And that's what worries me. You don't have to read if you don't want to, it's just a hobby. I also don't play football. I don't like playing football, so I don't. And if you think you do like reading but just didn't like the romantasy stuff, maybe just pick up a different genre. If there are too many words on the page, maybe you should try a graphic novel. And that's not meant in a demeaning way. Graphic novels are fantastic. I don't read them because I'm not the most visual kind of person. But you can read them. You don't have to read something that everybody else is reading if you know that it won't be your thing. And you don't need to read it all if you don't like it. Some of the smartest people I've ever met in my life read either not at all or like one book per year. Like, you don't have to read to be intelligent, you don't have to read to follow a certain aesthetic. If you like dark academia, then just dress the way people in dark academia dress and then live on. There's so much pressure nowadays behind reading because of social media. It's never that serious. Anyway, next video.
Today I will be discussing all of the classics I've read and whether they're classically terrible or classically classic. I've hated some. Fortunately, we're starting off on a bad note, considering I'd like to go up from here. Pride and Prejudice. Now,
I read that when I was 16. I remember liking it. I don't think I picked up everything. Jane Austen is often seen as this romance author. I honestly think she also has a lot of valid criticism in her books if you know where to look for it. And I think that that's something that you should also consider when reading Jane Austen. I actually have Pride and Prejudice somewhere here because I want to reread it, but I haven't got the time right now.
I did not understand what was going on in this entire book. Granted, I have also not seen the movie.
Me neither.
But why was everyone... I mean, I know why everyone was Miss Bennet, but the characters were referred to over and over again from the very beginning of the novel by their last name without ever distinguishing which one was one based off of any sort of evolution of character. So then I was just confused the entire time. The only thing I was following was Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth, and I didn't care for any of the other characters' marital status, and all of it just sort of pissed me off. I learned a lot of really cool words, which is why there are so many tabs, and I do quite like this cover, but other than that, I do not personally recommend this classic if you're trying to get into classics. This is for...
I think it was actually one of the first classics I've ever read, and I liked it a lot back then. I do understand the problem with the names, but it will have that with a lot of classics. It's just the way they talk to each other back then. Like, they would just use the last names or the first name depending on how close they were, and like, I mean, nowadays we do that still, but for books as well. Loved that
Frankenstein,
one.
I read
One of my
this my
favorite
junior
books.
year of high school and wrote an essay on it based off of nature versus nurture and whether Frankenstein turned out the way he did because of the way he was nurtured or because of his genuine nature.
I agree completely. The nature-nurture thing is always interesting, I think, in books. And there are not too many that come to mind that deal with it. Basically, if you don't know the concept of nature or nurture, I'm not a psychologist or anything, but from what I understand, it means that we think about if a person is the way they are because of like genetics, the way they are born. Just it's unchangeable. And nurture means the way they grow up. So the way your parents raise you, the way society treats you, stuff like that. And I always think it's an interesting discussion. There are always these studies of girls, of women having obvious signs in their brains about being more, I don't know, nicer, softer, better with emotions. But also, does our brain maybe evolve this way because of the way we are raised, or is it actually genetics that women will be better with emotions? Because every girl is raised in a way that makes them be like the caregiver and stuff like that, even if the parents don't want. That's the society still does that. So that's basically the nature-nurture debate. And that's also something that you can see in Frankenstein, just because obviously Frankenstein was actually the doctor, but his monster actually seemed kind of smart. He learned to speak, I think he learned to speak 2 languages actually. He followed the doctor because the doctor left him. He made this creature and then just left. And so the question is, could it maybe have ended differently if the doctor had just, taken on the role of the father that he essentially was?
By Sylvia Plath. I read this on vacation when I was in Costa Rica and I ate it up. Like, I had a fun time reading it.
I get that, and I liked it, but I also didn't. Because the main character was so annoying. She always gave other people the fault for things that were her own fault. And I didn't like her. Such a bad friend as well. No. The only interesting part was when she got depressed and we could see how she was treated then. That was interesting, that was good, and that was great. But like the beginning of the book was really horrible because of the main character being such an annoying, bad person. And also a very dumb person. She wasn't smart either. So yeah, I liked the ending, I liked the middle part, I just hated the beginning and the character.
I rated it 4 stars, but in my opinion this book is overhyped. Everyone makes this the center of their bookish universe, and I personally am not doing jumping jacks for it. Like, it's good, it was worth the read. I think that I got this at a thrift store or something, but I don't ponder this book. I don't think back on it and go, yes, wow! Worth the read, but not a game changer.
I'm just gonna skip that because I don't know it.
And this is okay. I'm putting these together because the first one is 1984. This is a really old copy. The cover is literally falling off in shambles. And then
okay, 1984 in Fahrenheit 451. I've read 1984 and I hated it. It's boring, and I know that's not supposed to be the most exciting story and supposed to be a critique, but also if you want to criticize something, people have to keep reading, and I just didn't want to. It was dragging on for so long and nothing happened. And I don't even need something to happen, I just need to have good characters, but I also didn't really like the characters either. I've read, for example, Brave New World was way better.
On the back of this whole anti-intellectualism debate, I think we need to have a discussion about the self-hatred within the romance community.
So apparently there's a lot of intellectualism discussion right now, it seems like.
And how they are intrinsically linked. The last few days I saw a romance convention say that romance books are hot fudge sundaes and have no nutritional value, they're just fun. And I saw an author share that romance books don't...
I wouldn't agree actually, because I think that romance books can have nutrition, as she says it. It's not going to be specific knowledge unless you read like a romance about, I don't know, photography, and they describe photography in detail. Also, if anybody knows a photography romance, that might be cute. There's still some emotional value you can get from it, and also I think that you can learn a lot about people, about how, emotional intelligence can definitely increase if you read a lot. Fictional books definitely have a reason to exist. And if it's just entertainment, then it's also just fine to be entertained by them.
need to be intellectual or world-changing, just because they're fun themselves. And while I think it's great that romance books are fun and escape,
Also, world-changing books can also be fun. Like, classics can be fun. And also classics aren't classics because they were world-changing in the sense that everybody suddenly had a new perspective on the world, but because they did something that no other book has done before. So yeah, classics and intellectual books can also be fun.
I think reducing them to simply fun and frivolous, doing romance a disservice. Romance books can be life-changing. Romance books have been life-changing for me, especially plus-size romance, especially queer romance. I think reducing romance books to this idea that they are only fun, they're only frivolous, that the only thing that we gain from romance is enjoyment, is a reduction and is stupid. Until we as a book community start seeing the worth in romance and start taking it seriously, these anti-intellectualism debates are going to continue and it's going to be ridiculous.
She also brings up this part of representation, which I think is very important in romance books, because there's more than just one way to love, and there's more than just one way to exist. I do think that sometimes we have a problem with romanticizing things that maybe should not be romanticized. As we've already discussed before on the previous videos, not everything needs to be highbrow, smarty pants stuff. It's fine to just read something that's enjoyable. You will still learn something from it if you want to learn, and if you don't want to learn anything, then that's also fine. And you are allowed to relax. Anyway, that's it for today with Booktok, I think. What have we learned? There are sites on Booktok that I can get behind. I like the discussion side that we had at the end. Mostly because I like to yap myself. The recommendation videos are nice, but those are not the books that I would read personally. The part of like the scenes, those are the parts that I do not like. Also, if you get bullied, don't share a bed with the bully. Yeah, so that's what I'm taking away from this. There are good sides to Booktok, which I honestly was kind of scared to just get stuff that I would be freaked out by. But there's also this part where we romanticize things that should not be romanticized. And also, I mean, I haven't gotten any videos myself yet, but there's also definitely a part of Booktok that reads as a competition. Like, I've read 100 books this year. I've read, I think, 15. And some of them were great, some of them were horrible. It's fine. Like, you don't need to read 100 books every year. I've seen people say that they skip paragraphs. Enjoy the process. Just enjoy the process. So yeah. Anyways, Booktok, surprisingly, fine. I've seen worse. On Instagram, mostly. Also on YouTube sometimes. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you had some fun.